we're already doing this. What do we need, these fancy words for, another tool in the box for?
We've always done it this way, so why do we need to change?
When you walk on someone's turf, they tend to be a little negative.
Well, the initial reaction of the organization, as well as the city council and the community, was complete confusion and a lack of understanding.
We're actually a little skeptical because we've been purchasing equipment the same way for many, many years, and we didn't really think that there was an issue or problem with it.
So is this just another way of eking out more because you don't want to hire more staff?
So I thought it was another gimmick.
Well, we wanted to be an excellent local government. That's kind of the goal, kind of our mission in terms of our organizational staff. And when I first arrived, I realized that I was talking a language that nobody else seemed to be sharing with me.
Engineers and accountants speak different languages. And then we're talking about numbers and costs that we're thinking in one way and they're thinking another way, and you don't always, it takes a while to get the understanding between the groups.
The tradition here is to have a lot of meetings and to do a lot of work in the meetings and very little work outside the meetings, and so it seemed like we were perpetually meeting in order to affect change. And those initiatives took on the upwards of 2 to 3 years to get some kind of organizational change within our structure.
We're a moderately sized public works department. Our annual operating budget's about $250 million. Our capital budget's usually $200 to $300 million per year, so about $500 million that we have at stake every year. And you got to know that if you're working with a budget that big, there's room for improvements all the time.
It was trying to get everybody on the same page to be able to communicate what improvement meant, how we move from where we are to being excellent. And to do that, we needed to get the managers and the department heads able to have a common language and a common culture.
The managers would think, I'm a manager because I know what I'm doing, I got promoted and I know how to solve this problem. They didn't bring cross-functional teams to bear on the problem. And so while the processes would be improved, in that situation, a lot of times there was just a bunch of accretion as one manager transferred to another manager over the decades. And pretty soon you have these big cumbersome processes that are in place that everybody thinks are the way to do things that nobody has ever questioned.
One afternoon, I got a call from the County Public Works Director, Jeff Pratt. He wanted to talk about heavy equipment, specifically how we might operate and manage that equipment more effectively and efficiently, because it represents a major line item on his budget.
Our first project was working on something I knew which helped, which was police officer recruitment and retention.
Well, initially we went out and we took a look at it at the corporation yard. We tend to look for, things that were not needed, cleaning things.
The fleet operations, which affects every department in the city, and was long a concern to the city council and to the city manager because nobody seemed to know what was going on with it, was a natural first area to take a look at.
We had found that there was some developer unhappiness and some complaints from the outside community that maybe our building permit process wasn't flowing like it should, and there was some inconsistencies.
Ultimately, we decided to form a Lean Six Sigma Kaizen and assign people from a variety of departments to that Kaizen.
The Kaizen is an extended exercise where we bring groups of people together, or stakeholders in the process, in this particular process being how we acquire and use heavy equipment. And that was our Public Works Agency staff from the Transportation Department and Watershed Protection District. We brought in folks from GSA, people involved with leasing equipment. We brought in our accounting staff.
And also we assigned a green belt who was from the IT department, had nothing to do with anything related to heavy equipment. He had no idea of how that inventory was managed, and we did that for a reason. We wanted someone to come in who, with a fresh set of eyes, could ask very pointed questions, and questions from a layman, someone who didn't know anything about how this was going on. So we found that to be very valuable.
Collective bargaining units and how we implement change, how Lean Six was implemented, was looked with much skepticism. They questioned, well, is management really going to listen to line staff? and the staff. You say you're going to incorporate them in this process, but do you really listen to them? And so what we did was we invited the union to participate as a spectator in our Kaizen events. And we have an open invitation that if on an area of great concern or sensitivity, they can come to any Kaizen event that we have and sit and spectate and watch to make sure that, sure, we're true to our word, that all those around the table have an equal voice in determining the issue, the process, the solutions, and more importantly, the flip side, the solution as it rolls out, that all staff are a participant in how that will be implemented throughout the organization.
So we took and selected the people who seemed to have a natural knack for this anyway. They may not have known what they were doing, they didn't have labels, and they didn't know what to call it, but they were already somewhat continuously improving their own work environments and their own processes.
The team itself was built with the employees of the city of Tulare from all different departments, from fire to finance to city hall's employees. So it was a well-rounded mixture.
We had a 6-person project team. Myself, because I was involved in the development process itself, but we also took folks from the outside departments. We had folks that might be involved in development by plan check, plan review, but we also had folks that had no idea what development or the building permit process consisted of.
It was cross-functional teams, actually at the suggestion of our consultant, Carlos Conejo. It was very important to bring in people from all departments to this initial effort. So we had the fire chief, we had police detectives, we had motorcycle officer, we had the planning director, we had mechanics, we had supervisors, we had department heads.
In law enforcement, in my position, especially being command level in law enforcement, immediately a lot of people were closed off to my being involved in projects and a cross-functional team. What I really found unique about Lean Six is it got the best out of everybody. I worked on my team with some guys that worked in the streets department, some of the guys that worked in maintenance. Once we broke down those barriers of roles and really got into the core of the problem, it was just, it was a gelling process, I'd like to call it.
At first we started just at the management level, and they were kind of protective in who they would select to be a part of the team. And it wasn't until we said, no, the selection of the team, everyone has valued input, and we can pick almost anyone from the field, from wherever to participate, then help break down that barrier or that perspective. This isn't just a way for management to get more out of you. This is actually a way for you to give input in improving a process that will actually make you more productive.
We knew we had problems in the fleet, but we didn't know exactly where the areas were, how to break it down. So the first step that the teams had to struggle through was actually identifying what were the processes of all the hundreds of processes that they might select to try to work on to specifically improve.
We actually went downstairs as a team. We acted as if we were a building permit that had just come through the door, and what steps did that permit go through to actually get issued. We talked and interviewed with the staff that issues the building permits to figure out if they even knew of the process that they were supposed to be doing.
So we kind of centralized it with some individuals that were trained specifically. We put them through training, their green belts and so forth, to be our really keeper of the Lean Six process, to be kind of the institutional point that they would join us in our management teams. They would join us in our leadership team as kind of our guide and consultant at all times, because many of our leaders are in very diverse operations and have a lot on their plate that they get caught up in the day-to-day whirlwind and sometimes set this aside. So this kind of kept us as a constant rudder, if you will, to keep us on track by incorporating that function and those experts in with our management team in order to keep that philosophy going and keeping us on track.
So the format we selected was a 2-part format. One had to do with classroom training. We met about, well, initially a couple times a week, and then scaled that back to once a week for the first series of projects out at the fleet.
After the first about 2 hours of class, I really started to get into it. It made a lot of sense to me. I liked the tools. They made sense. I'm kind of a fragmented thinker. When you think about a big picture project, a lot of times I'll get kind of all over the board, kind of kept me focused and kept my attention. and the further I went along, the more interested I got in the process.
We came across an issue where our scope of our problem was so big that we got to a point where we really needed to focus and narrow down. And I think the term that we used, that we were trying to boil the ocean. And so we tried to take and narrow down what were the key elements of our problem.
As we were doing the cleaning, we went upstairs and there was a hydraulic hose machine where I guess it's been sitting there for like 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Nobody really knew, but we were also sending our hydraulic hoses out to be coupled in things that was costing us a big profit. And when we found the machine and realized that we could make those hoses ourselves, we actually saved $12,000 in a couple of months by utilizing a machine that we already owned but was never in service.
We found out through the process that there was some inconsistencies, that staff wasn't really sure of what their definitive role was in the process, that we had outdated forms, that we had duplicative work. We found that there was some miscommunication from the staff to the public. We found that our forms were scattered all over the place to where when somebody came in and we had to take a look for them, our poor building official was sometimes on his hands and knees looking at forms in bottom drawers. And we found that we had no data to substantiate the time that it actually took to get a building permit process through the system.
Basically, the data we acquired would be the usage of all the equipment that we have from Public Works. We utilize the hours of usage from our division, which is Watershed Protection, and the Road Department Transportation Division, and also Waterworks was brought into this, of the usage of the equipment, so we could use their equipment if needed and utilize that equipment. When they're not using it, we can use it.
Prior to the Kaizen, we really had 2 independent fleets between the Transportation Department and the Watershed Protection District. And now we're really trying to develop a lean Public Works fleet, that we're combining all the resources we have within the county and maximizing and optimizing our use of those vehicles. So that way we don't have to acquire new vehicles just for one department. We're sharing the vehicles between departments. And that's how we plan our schedules going forward, is looking at the overall use from all the departments and not just one particular group.
So that's one thing. It's weekly, so we can be optimal on all the heavy equipment that the County of Ventura uses and has. So if nothing's going to be parked and we won't have to rent anything, we can use other departments' equipment when they're not using it.
In the past, we had kind of institutional knowledge of our systems, which are very process-oriented, very heavy in paper management and those type things. And so we mapped all those out into flow charts in which all staff are now able to see the flow that occurs within a system or a program area. In addition to that, we put all that on our intranet. And so our intranet is the hub of information which all staff have access to, and we created our own little branding logo of what Lean 6 was. We created a special button and housed it on our internet that anyone can go in, see the projects, see the results. They can go into their own department and see their process flows.
We have a Lean 6 coordinator that coordinates the portfolios of each department. So the department heads are out in their departments checking the progress on portfolio items, right? And we have detailed portfolios for each one and detailed schedules each. Now we have our guys taking their ties off, and they're out in the field now. Our transportation director has been out in the field with the orange shirt on, striping the streets, throwing asphalt in the holes, and we've got guys that throw asphalt in the holes coming up with some great ideas for improvement.
And sometimes the best answer is the best solution is just thrown out as an idea by one of our technical guys in the field, saying, well, why don't we do it this way? Why aren't we cleaning the channels in this particular way? Or why are we purchasing that equipment? And it starts out as a question, a simple question with a big answer sometimes.
What has happened with us in our striping crew in particular and in other areas is we have reduced the cost of our services to levels lower than the cities can provide for themselves. So we are becoming a regional provider of services.
We took our project from police officer recruiting of 102 days. We took it all the way to 53 days was our theory. And after the control phase, we actually did it in 56. So we were 3 days off. So I was impressed with it. And right away, I wanted to be involved with it more.
We had a great outcome, actually. We revised our forms, our everyday standard forms that the public comes in. We located them in one centralized location. Everybody knows where they're at. So if we have one staff person that's not available up front, We can have somebody fill in for her or him to make sure that the customer gets the form and doesn't have to wait. We move staff around to open up spaces down in what we call the bullpen. So we now have access to the inspectors, the site plan review staff, the building official, the economic development person, the planning people. So we're now all centrally located in one position or in one place. So if I have a question, I don't have to walk all over the building to find out what's going on. It's created this cohesiveness and this communication to where we're now getting out building permits in 30 to 45 days, whereas sometimes it was taking us 60 to 90 to 120.
Well, I think the Kaizans actually help break down a lot of walls, because you bring people together and communicate, and people are used to doing things the way they've always done them, and the Kaizan really brings a question to the fore and forces everyone to really think about it and talk as a group. And that communication really facilitates coming up with new solutions and answers.
This is significant because before we implemented the Lean Six Sigma Service Excellence Program at the county, we wouldn't have had that toolbox to turn to. We would have talked things out and put in place fixes that we thought were appropriate, but had not really had any rigorous discussion behind them.
There was a lot of defensiveness going on. I think we're all territorial in city government, and so we want to make sure that we know and portray that we know what we're doing. So when someone questions you why, you do get defensive. How certain departments fit into the process. Well, why do I need to fit into the process?
Well, when everyone realized that we were there for the same purpose, it was not that we were trying to belittle or take away from anyone. We were there for the betterment of that department and for the city. And so once they realized that, we all came together and good things happened.
In the project I'm in now, I'm working out at the wastewater treatment plant. What does law enforcement and wastewater have to do with each other? Really nothing. But I've already developed some relationships there with those folks that I hadn't had an opportunity to work with. And it's kind of an amazing process watching it all come together.
Well, that was a really good portion because, you know, I've been with the city for 29 years, and there were still people that, you know, I know the department but didn't know the people, in a sense, and we got to know each other on a first name basis, and that was really, really good, because now when we see each other, we've established that friendship, and that work relationship is great, and it's just a good thing for the whole city.
Now, in our own experience, you know, we started out, it was kind of clunky our first year. We just did process improvements to get the practice doing process improvements, right? We didn't really have a priority. We just looked at things and collectively said, well, this is a problem, let's go get it. Now, that has evolved tremendously over the 4 years that we've been in this. Now, we have processes that we look at, we know we need to look at, that we're improving. They're part of work plans. They're in very specific work plans. There are metrics, performance metrics associated with that. People know that the expectation, the understanding is there, and it's just part of everyday work. So that's how we address the issue of it's extra work. And the issue of we're already doing that, I think to a person in the Public Works Department, they would agree that that organized toolbox is better than the toolbox they had before. At
the City of Tulare, we're communicating more. We're getting more people involved. Those folks that may not have had the opportunity to participate in the program, we've brought in and formed our projects that we're doing ourselves. I've started my own project after the building permit process. We worked with the business licenses, and so we had the opportunity to bring in some staff that might not have otherwise been able to participate earlier, seeing the benefit, making sure that the other staff is recognizing and being rewarded for those changes, empowering them to do more with their work, and it catches. It just catches on and becomes the culture of the city.
And the reason Lean Six has worked so well for us is that we said that our programs are very administratively heavy. And so what we want to do is cut out and become the most efficient possible in order for us to focus where the resources are needed the most. And as staff understood that they want to serve people and clients, that's what we do for a business. So why would we want to be laden down with heavy administrative processes that we can improve through a Lean Six type activity? And they caught that vision and said, sure, because they have great ideas, and for years have been saying, I have great ideas. Now we have a mechanism and a method to get those ideas on the table in order to implement them and focus on what's most important.
Some of the biggest advantages weren't on a process improvement level, but they were on the organizational cohesiveness level. People who didn't know each other were all of a sudden working together on a project. People who didn't know what other parts of the organization did were working together and learning about parts of the organization they didn't even know existed. So what we found was, aside from the continuous improvement and the process improvement, there was actually a morale building aspect to the whole project.
Your employees a lot of times feel that improvement and process improvement means that we're looking to cut positions, and that's not the case. If you choose to go down this path, I think you'll be enlightened to find that most system problems, the people are way down on the list, 4 or 5. And it's generally not about personalities and those kinds of things. We're not looking to cut anything, we're just looking to make your life better. And I honestly believe that people that will engage in this process and take it serious and give it a go will have the same response and reaction that I did. And I'm continuing with the process. I'm in the process now of trying to attain my green belt in Lean Six Sigma, and look forward to hopefully helping the city of Tulare move into the future.
It's a journey. It's a lot like your health, you know. You got to check it all the time, and you got to run your laps and do whatever it is you think makes you a better, better person or more healthy. So, it's a journey. It's not an end point.